The Florida Gators had some right tackle struggles on Saturday night against Long Island, but that could be fixed this weekend.
You are Locked On Gators, your daily podcast on the Florida Gators. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello and welcome back to another episode of Locked On Gators, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Thanks for making Locked On Gators your first listen of the day. Every day we are available daily and free. I listen to the podcast and on YouTube. Happy Tuesday. I'm Brandon Olsen. Find me on Twitter at WNS_Brandon. On all my written work with New York Giants on SI and Swamp Signal, which is on Substack now. And we're going to have premium content coming out either Wednesday or Thursday about some of these offensive line struggles the Florida Gators had on Saturday night. Today's episode of Locked On Gators is brought to you by FanDuel. Football season is here. Visit the FanDuel app today and start placing your future bets now. And the Florida Gators at right tackle had some struggles against Long Island, right? We've covered that a lot. We're going to keep talking about it because it was an issue. It was a glaring issue where Bryce Lovett just had a really bad day. And I think that a lot of it came down to his footwork. And like I mentioned multiple times since then, it's possible that he just might not have the footwork and agility to actually last at offensive tackle long term. I've told the stories before about, hey, well, I hear these things and I've been told these things about playing offensive tackle and what that really entails, and that a lot of it actually comes down to footwork and a lot of it comes down to patience more so than arm length and size, like we used to talk about all the time at offensive tackle. And Bryce Lovett's footwork just, I don't know, they just looked heavy on Saturday night against Long Island. And we saw him against Tulane, and we saw against Tulane in the bowl game that the footwork was a little bit heavy there too, and that his feet just looked a bit heavy. And then we saw some clips in the spring, and he looked a little bit more nimble, but I don't know if he's got what it takes long term to last there. And look, this was a Long Island team that is smaller, and smaller usually means quicker. But when you're playing in the SEC, those edge rushers are bigger and still quicker. And so that does give me a genuine cause for concern. And I'm not saying that he should be benched. I don't think that even if it was Long Island, even if it was an awful game, I don't think that that necessarily deserves a benching this early in the season, because there's of course the possibility that, hey, he just played a bad game. That's acceptable. That's reasonable to say as a possibility. And so I don't think he should be benched. I will say that, and again, as far as who played what snaps in the Long Island game, I don't think that all of it was indicative of who should play where, when, how often, any of that stuff. I do think that Hayden Jones should get significant snaps at right tackle against South Florida, specifically with the other starters on the field. Like, you should see a drive where from left to right, it goes Austin Barber, Najee Harris, Jake Slaughter, Damian George, then Bryce Lovett. And you should see another drive where it goes from left to right, Austin Barber, Najee Harris, Jake Slaughter, Damian George, Caden Jones, and kind of just see how the offensive line plays off of each other and how they work out there, and see if, hey, maybe we are a more stable, more reliable unit when this is our line setup. And so I think that I'm not calling for a benching. I am calling for Caden Jones deserves more significant snaps in more significant situations and see how that works out. If Bryce Lovett bounces back, which he's very capable of doing, I think, again, I've always said that long term he'll be a guard. When we talk about the NFL, he'll be a guard. But if you can last a tackle, you can last a tackle. And so I do think that there's a way to come back from this. The thing that has concerned me since that game is that I think his struggle was in an area where you usually do improve. Like heavy feet, sloppy feet are different from heavy feet. And I think that Bryce Lovett had heavy and sloppy feet. And that's the big concern for me. On the defensive side of the ball, I don't know what the exact rotation is going to look like. Nobody knows what the exact rotation is going to look like because against Long Island, not only did you have multiple starters out on the defense, really, you had a lot of starters out on the defense, just considering, there's 11 guys that technically start. You can say 12 if you want to include nickel and the linebackers. Um, and that we saw quite a few guys rotate in, and I don't know if their rotation is going to be as frequent for the remainder of the season or for the majority of the season, but one guy that I need to see a lot of this year is Brendan Bett, the transfer in from Baylor. We talked about how that transition should be pretty seamless just because he is experienced enough in this defensive system. He's played in a similar defense. And so you can look at that and go, all right, well, that should translate well, right? And he played very well against Long Island. He really did. And I know so many players did on defense, right? Jeremiah McLeod feasted on defense, limited snaps, but feasted on defense. And I think that when you look at what Brendan Bett did, he looked really good, right? Caleb Banks is going to be back and eat into those snaps. It's going to eat into Jeremiah McLeod snaps. It's going to eat into Tavorius Brown snaps, Brian Taylor Jr. snaps. I think the thing that we need to see, though, is even with Caleb Banks back, Brendan Bett needs to play significant snaps. I thought the way he defended the run, again, I know it was Long Island. I'm talking just from a technical aspect. I think the way he defended the run was really impressive. And I think that you can look at him and go, all right, well, we have the opportunity to say, hey, maybe some drives or some situations, we'll put Brendan Bett in over Caleb Banks and kind of save Caleb Banks for more obvious passing situations, just in some areas. I'm not saying they do that consistently, but I am saying if you're playing more run heavy teams and you have Brendan Bett out there, you get into passing down situations, you put Caleb Banks in, and you just wreak havoc there, keep him fresh, keep him productive, still let him put out that good film. I think Brendan Bett deserves a significant role rotationally on this defensive line. And I loved what he put out on film on Saturday against Long Island. The last player we're talking about is Vernell Brown III. Look, I have long been a fan of Aiden Mizell. You can go back to when he committed. I was a huge fan of the addition. I'm still a huge fan of him. I had my, I guess, reserves about him at some points where I was like, look, I don't know if I think he might be too rigid to create separation was my main concern there. And I was trying to find the exact word that I used for it. But I mean, a lot of it came down to him being high hipped, and those guys usually do struggle to create separation. I think Vernell Brown III should rightfully challenge for Aiden Mizell's spot whenever Aiden Mizell is back and fully available. Vernell Brown III might have earned that role already. Look, Aiden Mizell is someone that everybody loves because he's tall and he's fast, but the production hasn't been there to this point yet. And so I don't think that it's something we should just say, hey, well, Aiden's back. We're going to give him that starting role. I don't think that's I don't think that should necessarily be the case. I don't know what happened there, but I do think that Vernell Brown III has earned significant playing time on this in this receiver room on this offense, and of course is going to be a contributor on special teams. We are about to be joined by starting tight end Hayden Hansen. This is going to be the only time he joins us on a Tuesday, I think, this season. Usually it's going to be Wednesdays, but this week it is going to be a Tuesday just because of how the schedule worked out. So when we come back, Hayden Hansen will be joining the show for Locked On Gators. When the opening whistle blows on a new repair, get your crew moving forward with Supply House. Order today and see parts on your doorstep tomorrow. Over 280,000 plumbing, HVAC, and electrical items from the most trusted brands in the business. Their real-time inventory and honest lead times keep you from punting projects, while their industry-leading customer service always has your blind side covered. Join the free Trademaster program today and score serious perks like priority shipping, lower prices, and a dedicated support line. Visit supplyhouse.com to sign up for free and use promo code SHCollege5 for 5% off your first order. That's supplyhouse.com. Real people, real service. And Guys, you've probably heard of Viagra and Cialis, and maybe you've even tried them. But if you're looking for something beyond the usual pill, it is time to meet Rougiette Ready, which has quickly become my favorite sponsor of the comments there. And when you get Rougiette Ready, you get a next-gen prescription treatment designed to amplify arousal in the brain and boost blood flow. Unlike the usual pills that can take hours, Rougiette's 3-in-1 formula dissolves under your tongue and kicks in fast. On average, in 15 minutes. Effects can last up to 36 hours, so you can stay confident and in control when the moment is right. Head to Rougiette.com/LockedOnCollege. Use code LockedOnCollege to get 15% off today. That's RUGIET.com/LockedOnCollege. Use promo code LockedOnCollege for 15% off. Individual results may vary with prescription treatment. Compounded drugs are permitted to be prescribed under federal law, but are not FDA approved and do not undergo FDA safety, effectiveness, or manufacturing review. Please visit the Rougiette website for full safety information. Joining me now for Locked On Gators is Hayden Hansen, Florida Gators starting tight end, and going to be back here every week during the season. Once again, year four now. Math is hard. Time flies by. You know how it goes. But Hayden, 55-0 win over Long Island, which, by the way, thank you guys. Hate Long Island. If any New York City person hates Long Island, so thank you for doing that to them. But how did it feel to be back there in front of a packed swamp once again?
Yeah, I mean, it's always a blessing, I mean, this is year 4, but it always feels like the first game with that crowd. It's always electric, and wouldn't rather do it with anyone else but my brothers. So,
what are the jitters like? I guess I'll call them jitters, but what is that like? Where it's been a long time at this point since you've been back in front of a truly packed crowd, just that game day atmosphere. What is that like when you're kind of going into it, when it's like, oh, like I know they're going to be rocking. I know it's Long Island, which, by the way, first time since you've been here that it's not a Power 4 opponent. But what's that like where it's just like, it's going to be a packed crowd, it's just going to be a juiced up atmosphere?
Yeah, I mean, it just adds another element to your game. The intensity. Yeah, I mean, we try to simulate practice to where it's the same as the game, but you add 90,000 people in there, it's always going to be another element of intensity. So it's always. I mean, it's really a blessing playing against 90,000 of our own fans. So,
and I have to ask, because of course scored a touchdown against Long Island. How did it feel to hit that celebration again? Which you seemed especially amped about. I just want to throw that one out there.
Well,
like the yell, the bow and arrow.
Yeah, I mean, it was 4 years in the making. I never scored in the swamp. All my touchdowns have been on the road against Kentucky, Georgia, South Carolina, Mississippi State. So I remember telling Slaughter before the game, like, I've got to get one before I leave here, So that's why I was really excited. Like, yeah, I'm aware it was 31-0. It was LIU. I didn't care. It was my first time in the swamp, 4 years in the making. So I was pretty excited about that one, to check it off the bucket list.
Yeah. What did that feel like when, because of course you score, lights go out, crowd goes nuts. Like it was a pretty sick visual. No, I'm not going to lie about that one. So just what did that feel like, where it's just, again, like you mentioned, you got to do it at home. Every other time it's been, your first touchdown ever, if I'm not mistaken, was Kentucky. And of course, Twitter was, you're down 20-0 or whatever the hell the score was. And like, stop celebrating, all those complaints. Which the voice, by the way, incredibly ironic coming from me. But just now having that home crowd cheer you on as you got to do it.
Yeah, I mean, it's a completely different feeling. It's a difference when you score on the road, the stadium goes dead silent, everyone's mad you did it, versus at home, everyone's happy you did it. So it's two completely different feelings. I'd rather score at home every time. And it was just a surreal feeling.
That was going to be my next question about which would you rather do? Because I'm a pest. So like if I can irritate other people, I'm going to take that over the cheering there. Like knowing I can ruin other people's day would be a pretty fun feeling there.
Yeah, there is a special element to score on the road. Just like knowing that you're the reason that stadium goes dead silent is just a pretty good feeling. But it's really hard to top 90,000 of your own fans cheering you on. So that's a hard one.
That's fair. And I feel like every year you come on here and we talk about Coach Napier's message to the team. And it does feel like every year there's some kind of different theme. This year, it's spot the ball, clearly is what we're going for here. But what's that message been like going into this year, where first time that you open with not just a non-Power 4 team, but you open with an FCS team, quote unquote cupcake, we'll call them. Or actually, I'll call them that. I could say that. That's fine. You can, maybe not, but I can call them that. But you open with a cupcake, then you have a group of 5 opponent this coming week, and then it's straight power 4 the rest of the way at that point. But what's that messaging been like where you don't open with a power 4 opponent?
Yeah, I mean, the first message was, I mean, it doesn't matter who it is. It's always going to be about us. So it doesn't matter if the New York Jets are out there or if it's LIU. You know, we're going to go out there, play our best, which, by the way, we were penalty-free, I think, for the first time since 2021. So that was also a significant thing. But, I mean, it was week 1. You know, everyone's a little rusty. So there are details that we need to clean up on offense. But for the most part, I mean, we played flag-free football, which is always good. And part of his emphasis was that he basically told the starters, like, go out there, take care of business the first half so we can reward these guys that work their ass off every year that never get a chance to play. We're going to get a chance to play a lot of guys if you can go out there and handle business. So that was another layer of motivation as well, to see some of those guys get in that don't necessarily get the time they deserve for how much work they put in. So that was really nice to see.
I think from the fan side, that's what a lot of us were hoping for too. Like, everybody wants to see, the starters. I know Twitter was like, I just want to see DJ Lagway throw the football again. And there was all that. But I do think that a lot of it goes into seeing guys who you don't typically see and you may never see again, going out there and getting to get some significant playing time. And to watch the guys that go out there and play well in that time too. Like, I know for the people that like PFF, PFF hates you, by the way. We know that that's been well established. I don't know who we got to take it up with, but we know that they hate you there. But they love like Mark Faircloth. He's someone that Florida Gators fans haven't seen, but graded out really well on PFF. And so it's just fun to see those guys that we'll probably not see for a while again, just go out there and get to have some fun. And but which actually, let me ask this: why were Long Island players talking so much trash? I don't know who they thought they were, but 90 was out there just like, he made some plays, but he was also just out there. Just, there was one play and he was basically in the red zone or basically in the end zone, and he was just pointing nonstop. I don't know what Long Island thought they had going on there, but that was just insane behavior.
Yeah, those guys are pretty funny on the front D line. I mean, I don't think it was really trash talk. I don't think it was just a lot of jokes being made. I mean, those guys are pretty funny. You know, I think they understood after we scored the first 4 times in a row. They were like, all right, we're just here for the experience. So,
I mean, for a lot of them, if not, honestly, probably almost all of them, except for maybe a couple, going to be the last time they play in front of a crowd like that ever. So might as well have some fun with it there. But in that game, what is film study even like? Because I feel like there's a lot of things where you can watch it and you go, well, yeah, we're supposed to do that against Long Island. And we'll chalk up like, yeah, we did it. That's a good thing that we actually got it done. But I feel like, are there areas where it's like, oh, well, if we didn't do this against Long Island, then we really need to hammer this in practice this week or something like that? Like, what can you truly take away from a game like that?
yeah, 100%. And like I said, it kind of goes back to us playing our brand of football that we established in the offseason. And it goes down to the smallest details. Like, I mean, their front, the way they were doing some things, it was giving us a little bit of problems early because they didn't do it all year. So it took a little bit of time to adjust. But once we figured it out, it was fine. But just like the little details, it doesn't matter who we play. We have to clean up the front 7 communication with the O-line, me. We've got to clean up the quarterback communication. There's just little details all around the board to clean up. And we have to clean it up for sure because USF, I'm guessing, is going to be a soon-to-be ranked opponent. And we can't take those guys lightly at all. So just the things that popped up on the LIU film, we have to attack immediately and add it to our strengths and get ready to go play USF.
Was that I guess an adjustment, because one of the things that was constantly talked about by myself included was how small Long Island was compared to Florida. I mean, I kept talking about how Long Island had 2 offensive linemen that are shorter than me out there. And so they had a lot of small, I think 30 players on the roster are shorter than me. And so they had a lot of shorter players out there, but does that in some areas make it a little, I guess, difficult to adjust to, where you're not used to playing guys that short or not used to trying to get lower than those guys, where we talk about low man wins all the time?
Yeah. I mean, yes and no. I mean, whoever's in front of us, we're going to do what we're coached to do fundamentally wise. I think just the biggest thing this game was not to go in there thinking that it was going to be easy, because I mean, it's D1 college football at the end of the day. If you go in there thinking that we're just going to do whatever we want to them, then you might get shocked a little bit. You might catch a jab. So just kind of going in there, staying on your P's and Q's, taking care of your job. There's going to be a little bit of, it might be a little slower of a game. You're not worried about as much maybe as you are versus Georgia or LSU, but you still got to go in there and take care of business and give them their respect.
The NFL season is here, and FanDuel is making sure you're ready for kickoff with a can't-miss offer. Right now, new customers can bet just $5, and if your bet wins, you will get $300 in bonus bets to use across the app. You can bet on anything. $5 can get you $300 in bonus bets. You can bet on something simple like a heavy favorite to win the game. You can bet on something crazy, right? You could bet on, I don't know, Pete Alonso to hit a home run, Florida Gator, Wyatt Langford to hit a home run, Harrison Bader to hit a home run. Just bet on a bunch of Florida Gators to hit home runs any given day. Parlay them. Why not? Let's go nuts with it, right? So if you're ready to play, download the FanDuel app now by visiting FanDuel.com to get started. That's FanDuel.com to place your first $5 bet with FanDuel.com. And college football is back. It was a beautiful week one. Hate watching didn't go well, but still a beautiful week one. Couldn't be more excited, right? The tailgates, the rivalries, the energy in the stands. There's nothing like it. But let's be real. Actually getting tickets can feel like more of a battle than the game itself, with endless queues, hidden fees, and prices jumping at checkout. That's why I use Gametime and only use Gametime, the app that gives the advantages back to the fans. It's the easiest way to score last-minute tickets at the best prices with no surprise fees whatsoever. So what you see is what you pay. And I've been very open about this. Concerts, games, everything. I use Gametime for it. I saw 5 concerts last year. Hell of a time. Take the guesswork out of buying college football tickets with Gametime. Download the Gametime app, create an account, and should Locked On College for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, use promo code LOCKEDONCOLLEGE for $20 off. Swipe, tap, ticket, go. Download Gametime today. I want you to take me through the growth in this tight end room because you, of course, came in as a 3-star who was about a year removed from playing quarterback. And so you were still learning the position, which, by the way, if you haven't ever gone back to look at your recruiting picture from 24/7, it is insane how starkly different you look now from then. Just want to throw that one out there. Tony Livingston was making the transition from offensive lineman to full-time tight end after playing basketball. Amir Jackson, I don't know if you ever really watched his high school film, but he's running end arounds. Like he's playing basically receiver out there. Scott Isaacs went from no playing time to the 2 deep. Just what's that tight end room growth been like, where for basically everybody, except for the brand new people, it's been multiple years in this room, in this program, and developing kind of together at that point?
Yeah, for sure. This room's taking great strides. And I know it kind of showed last Saturday, Amir Jackson getting in there, getting his first career catch, Tony getting a touchdown, me getting a touchdown. I think the biggest strides we've taken is in the receiving game. I feel like we're given more of a chance now. I feel like we've always had that, but I feel like the more they include us, the more we're going to prove them right in that regard. I feel like we've always been a physical bunch, especially me and Tony, being in line, providing a lot of help for the linemen and giving the running back some extra lanes to run in. I just think we're probably the most versatile room in the nation, tight end wise. We're definitely the biggest that's for damn sure. Between me and Tony, we got Amir too, who's a damn good vertical threat. And even the young pups like Cossman and Micah Jones, they're coming along really fast. They're picking things up faster than I did. Them coming in January versus like me and Scott coming in the summer makes a world of a difference. They've gotten to play spring ball and things like that. So in practice, we can rely on them as well. And like with Scott, he's always worked. He's had plenty of chances just to be like, I'm done. Like I'm not playing. But he stuck to it. We relied on him a lot in practice, and he's ready for his shot too. Everyone here just really puts their head down and works, and they're all accountable. So
I hope you know that I will never think of Scott without thinking of the Arkansas almost blocked punt in 20. I will never think of him without thinking of just
I'll
that.
never let him forget that. He could have been a hero. I'll never let him forget that.
I will never forget that one, seeing that after the game. But now at this point in your career with Florida. It's year 4. You're one of the most senior guys on the team now. How has your role changed, if at all, as just a vocal or leadership perspective?
Yeah, I get challenged all the time throughout the building with coaches and whatnot to be more of a vocal leader. That's something I've been trying to work on. I've always been like a lead by example guy. I've never really been vocal in the past. I do my job, and people can always. I always thought in my head that people can just look at me to do my job, and that's leading. Like if a freshman's lost, he can just look at me and know what to do. But Napier always tells me leading by example is the bare minimum. It's not enough. So I've been working on trying to be more vocal, not just in the tight end room, but in general. And that's something I have to work on every day. And I feel like I have been getting better at it. But like looking at guys like Jake Slaughter and other guys do it that are in like their 5th years that are very comfortable on this team, I always look at them and kind of see how they connect with the other guys with different backgrounds and whatnot on the team and try to do my best.
How difficult is that to kind of go from not being a vocal leader to trying to do that? Because I feel like one of the hardest parts there is just like knowing when to take your opportunity to go speak and go lead, and knowing when that might be overstepping or anything. So how difficult is that to just get into?
Yeah, I mean, yeah, it's always difficult to kind of start getting into the zone a little bit, But I mean, I always kind of talk when I feel like it's necessary, and I mean, I'm pretty good at that. That's something I don't really need help on, like in practice if we're dragging butt or something like that. I can always pick up the energy and things like that. But it's more of the things like mid game, like figuring stuff out mid game, getting guys out of their head and things like that. That's a lot harder to do because everyone responds differently. Like me, like you could, like a coach could rip me on the sideline, rip me a new one, and I'll be just fine. But some guys you yell at, they shut down. So that's kind of same thing with like a player led leader. If you go yell at a guy, he's going to shut you out the rest of the game. So you got to know everyone has different ways of being held accountable. So you just got to find that zone. And I think from the starting offense, I have a pretty good idea. I think we all have a pretty good idea of how we respond to each other, and I feel like that's been showing.
Yeah, I think that's one of the most difficult. I'm not gonna lie. When I played my very low level of high school football and the crappy semi-pro I played, if you yelled at me, I was the type where I was like, all right, F you, man. Like, just talk to me, just tell me things. And so I understand that one. But I will also say we got to see Tramel Jones kind of step into the QB2 role now. And it wasn't something that was publicly known before. Of course, there's no more depth chart coming out every week. So it wasn't a publicly known thing, but Tramel Jones stepping into QB2, Billy Napier afterwards said that he earned that role. So what was that like watching him kind of come in and take that role as a true freshman, especially with the additional reps available with DJ Lagway being, what is it, modified, that Billy Napier's thrown out there now?
Yeah, I mean, Tramel Jones, man, I mean, he's great as a freshman. I mean, he's one of the most pure passers I've ever seen, does a beautiful ball, knows when to use his legs, has good awareness, doesn't make those rookie mistakes that you would expect a true freshman to make. So, I mean, I'm proud of him. And I think the way Napier announced is perfect. He earned the spot. He wasn't given the spot. He had to earn it every day in practice. And seeing him in the game, dealing all those passes, especially giving my boy Tony a touchdown, it excites me, It kind of gives you comfort, that if he ever has to go in the game, we can win games with him, So I look forward to seeing him keep developing.
And I guess now as we wrap this one up today, what are your personal goals for the season as FBS play opens up for you guys?
Yeah, I mean, some personal goals of mine. It's always to be the most dominant inline blocking tight end. Whether that's controlling, like cutting up the C gap or whatnot, pass pro, keeping all that momentum I have there, but also showcasing my receiving ability that I've been working on all offseason. I think last game was a good start, regardless of the opponent. Obviously I got to keep it up. I got to keep doing it, but I feel like I showcase my hands, my speed off the ball, things like that. I want to at the end of the season, I want to show that I'm the most complete tight end in the SEC. And I think I had a good start last game, and just got to keep it rolling.
Well, you want to be the most dominant inline blocking tight end because, of course, the move to offensive tackle is coming. At some point, the move to offensive tackle is coming. I will say, no one asked me about that this week, so I guess just getting you a few touches, I guess, is enough to just quiet those down.
Oh, yeah.
Are there any specific games that you've got kind of circled on the schedule for this year where it's either getting your get back or wanting to kind of I guess like Ole Miss, a lot of people will go, yeah, like you guys shouldn't have won that game. Ole Miss was favored, LSU was favored, and you guys went out there and kind of pummeled both of them. So is there any game where you're like, all right, we need to kind of silence the doubters there?
Yeah, I got Texas circled on mine for sure. That'll be an exciting game. Being from there, never hear the end of losing to them. I'm excited for that one. They're coming to the Swamp for the first time, so that's a really good game to get back, especially if we're all healthy this time around. I think we can get it done.
I'm assuming the whole family's coming out for that one.
Yeah.
Of course, that makes a lot of sense there. And before I let you go, what was it, a month or so ago? You got to go out and watch a UFC event in person. Just what was that like? Because if I'm not mistaken, by the picture you posted, pretty damn close to the octagon there. So just what was that experience like?
Yeah, it was insane. I mean, we were so close you could hear the punches going off their faces. It was insane. I mean, I'll never forget that experience. It's unreal. The way Dana runs that company is wild. Seeing all those fighters I grew up watching up close is surreal, man. Got a lot of respect for those guys who step in there. It's like modern day gladiators. So, I mean, I had goosebumps the whole time.
I don't mean this in a what's harder way, but what would you rather deal with, inline blocking or getting punched in the face while fighting someone there?
I'll take inline blocking all day.
There we go. Thank you so much, Hayden. This is Hayden Hansen, Florida Gators starting tight end. Catch him every week on Locked On Gators and every Saturday for your Florida Gators. Thanks again for making Locked On Gators your first listen of the day every day. We are available daily and free, whether it's in the podcast and on YouTube. And man, felt good to have Hayden Hansen back with Locked On Gators, where he will be every week again this week, Tuesday, but from every week on, expecting that to be on Wednesday. So for Locked On Gators, I'm Brandon Olsen. Don't forget to follow me on Twitter at WNS_Brandon. Find all my written work for New York Giants on SI and Swamp Signal, and I will see you all next time.